The goal of our study was to see how preschool children's development was influenced by changing home at a young age. There are a variety of reasons why families opt to return home, some of which are favorable and some of which are negative. It demonstrates the strengths and shortcomings of the students who attend America's schools, as well as providing a window into the evolution of learning. Lakes and oceans have a lot in common, yet they're also very distinct. Both are bodies of water, however oceans are much larger salt water masses, whilst lakes are much smaller freshwater basins. Lakes are typically bordered by land, whereas continents are surrounded by oceans. Both are home to flora and animals.
Green tea is made and given to a small number of visitors in a tranquil atmosphere as part of the Japanese tea ceremony, a tradition influenced by Buddhism. The ritual might go for hours, and both the server and the visitor must execute a number of customary gestures.
SARS-CoV-2 infection is most likely to occur in humans, ferrets, cats, civets, and dogs, according to a study including 10 different species. People's well-being is impacted in a variety of ways by these various service categories. The definition of human well-being is likewise a difficult task. Then, we discovered that there are some things that are essential to existence, such as food and shelter.
Why is it important to study the past in order to better understand today's society? Even in Europe up to the 18th century, it was widely considered that it could determine how any society should operate. As a guide for the present and future, the past was an inspiration. Symbolically, it was a key to the genetic code that each generation used to make its descendants and organize their relationships. There are 125 academic majors to select from for undergraduates. In addition to nationally and globally renowned scientists, authors, and educators, the university's faculty is dedicated to upholding the university's history of offering the best undergraduate education possible. Even while blue is one of the most common colors, it is also one of the least appealing. Natural blue food is a rarity. Humans learnt to avoid hazardous or damaged things, which were commonly blue, black, or purple, when searching for food, according to food scientists. Those who eat food that has been tinted blue tend to lose interest in what they are eating. Canadian, Japanese, and German scientists opted to dig more into some of these weapons. Their fascination in stinging species like coral and jellyfish led them to focus on predatory marine microorganisms known as dinoflagellates, which have the ballistic weapons you just saw. The century-and-a-half-old mystery of why capillary condensation, a fundamentally microscopic phenomena involving a few molecular layers of water, can be represented relatively well using macroscopic equations and macroscopic features of bulk water has been solved by a new research effort. Nature has a secret rule that we don't know about. The question is asked, how is understanding possible? The technique for thinking of this approach is that while scripture is something past a standard substance, scripture is in the principal examination content which individuals endeavor to appreciate. In this sense, the benchmarks of seeing any substance apply to the Bible, additionally paying little regard to whatever other additional, especially philosophical gauges are considered.
The Astrophysics division of NASA's Science Mission Directorate is tasked with exploring the vastness of the cosmos. To understand the cosmos and our position in it, this division's science ambitions are mind-boggling. As we get closer and closer to discovering the whole history of the stars and galaxies, we're beginning to examine the very beginning of the universe itself. We are learning about how planets form and how their habitats change.
In a world where the climate is changing at a rate not exceeded in the geological record, the Arctic is on the front lines, experiencing the most rapid warming of any region on the planet. Once considered remote and disconnected, now we know that changes within the Arctic can have a direct impact on the rest of the world.
Scientists in Australia claim to have developed a non-invasive strip that checks glucose levels via saliva for diabetics, who typically have to prick their fingers multiple times a day with a lancet and then place a drop of blood on a testing strip in order to monitor their blood sugar levels, which can be painful.
Neuroscientists believe that prolonged exposure to loud noise affects the brain's processing of speech, making it more difficult to discriminate speech sounds. The hair cells in the ear, which are responsible for picking up sound, are permanently damaged when exposed to extremely loud sounds. Noise-induced hearing loss occurs when the hair cells in the inner ear are permanently destroyed. You can argue in favor of or against a thesis statement. Ideally, it should be something that you are able to convey in a clear and compelling manner. Keep in mind the number of pages in your paper. If you can, try to come up with a unique idea for your thesis.
Humans do ask themselves these and a slew of other questions, many of which are irrelevant, if not absurd, in the context of developed wants and objectives. What distinguishes humans is our ability to generate human-created objectives in addition to our naturally established goals, such as the desire to obtain food, shelter, or a spouse.
In order to be a person, you must be conscientious. In order to be a conscientious person, one must be able to manage one's own behavior. This attribute determines whether you will make long-term objectives, mull over your decisions, act cautiously or impulsively, or take your responsibilities to others seriously. Travelers are increasingly relying on social media as a source of information. The purpose of this research is to find out how social media sites show in search engine results when people are looking for travel information. It also demonstrates the difficulties encountered by traditional travel information companies.
Multiple layers of armor are used to protect blades from nature's elements and the enormous forces they create. During operation, the surface layer often erodes and the interior layers may get separated. Despite the fact that a turbine has a potential lifespan of 25 years, modern medium-sized systems often require major maintenance after 10 years because of blade degradation.